Jeff and Kira, episode 46.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Kira.
Hey, happy International Men's Day.
It is International Men's Day today, isn't it?
Yes. Did
I,
you know that it was International Men's Day? Or
I was, I did not hear about that until I saw it in your queue and you had posted about it, and I saw you
I
post
did?
about it, and I was like, oh yeah, it is International Men's Day. Now, what is that? What does that mean? It's just like is it like what happened? What's the just a day to
Look,
celebrate guys, or how does that work?
everybody gets a blowjob.
I mean,
No,
like what is International Men's Day mean? What's the who created it, and what is that about, or how does it come about?
yeah, so really there's a National Women's Day, so of course there's a International Men's Day, and it's just about bringing awareness of men's health, whether that's mental or socially, physically, all of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of bringing that awareness, very similar to Movember,
Hmm.
where you grow out your beard in support of getting prostate exams and all of that kind of thing. So it's just like a heightened awareness of like, hey, thank you guys for being, the strong pillars of society that you and all of the stress that you guys are under, and giving support to the men in our lives, and thanking them for being who they are. Because, and for me, every day is, Men's Day. So, I'm constantly pushing to bring a little bit more awareness as to the stresses that men go through, and the support that they need from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah, yeah. That's really great. So when is Women's International Women's Day comparatively? That
I think it's in March, if I remember correctly. I have to look it up again. Let me see what it's day. Um, yeah, I think it's March 8th.
they should just do them like back to back. Like
I know.
have the one day on a Monday and the next on the Tuesday, and then like
Right? Like, why make it? I think they wanted to make Men's Day inside November in order to coincide with Movember.
with COVID. Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
then, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I
it's great nonetheless, and I know it plays into everything you're doing, etc. And I think it's great. So
Jeff, when was the last time you went to the doctors for an annual, checkup?
probably been a couple years. Probably been a couple years. Like I haven't. You mean just for like a routine physical? Yeah, I haven't. I need to go do that soon. I know. I know people. Some people do it once a year. Some people do it twice a year. Some once every 2 years. Some never.
Never.
It's probably a full range, but I do know that there's a wide range of when people get that done. How often do you
Okay.
go?
Well, women, we're usually a little bit better with going to the doctors and getting, physicals, but that's part of Men's Day as well, as like a reminder of like, hey, you guys need to go and get, physicals done on a yearly basis at least. And then the older you get, you need to get prostate exams and colonoscopies, and really, pay attention to your health,
one Hundred
because,
percent.
prostate cancer and colon cancer is a huge, unfortunately, amount of deaths each year because of it. So, and highly treatable when caught early. So, again, with Men's Day, it's more of a reminder of like, hey, call your doctor, make an appointment. That is, unless you're in Los Angeles and you're locked down.
Which we are still. We've actually gone into some tighter restrictions recently. Well, first off, I want to say that we've got people like Johan and Vernon in the room here. So what's up, you guys? I see Vernon says to we need to get checked up. He says you don't want to end up like me, Jeff. Oh, well, I guess yeah. He says it's good to stay healthy, and Vernon, we wish you the best with everything. Um, but yes, we're locked down again out here, and I don't know when. I guess we went back into purple zone, um, which is the higher zone of. I think it's purple. Of like ranking. Um,
I wonder who
and
created the colors, like why purple is the higher one. You
yeah,
know, I wonder where the science. Like, I want to meet the person that created the color scheme of, because when I was there, there was no, we didn't have color. I think that's newer since I've been gone. And I just want to, and each state has their own like fun colors that they use.
hmm
It's interesting that LA or California decided on purple
yeah,
as being like the toughest, you know, restriction. You would think like a red or I don't know.
yeah. I don't know what the reasoning was for their charts, but how is in Atlanta there? Is you guys restricted?
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we wear masks to go into stores.
Yeah.
Masks are not mandated here. We're one of the few states where wearing a mask is not mandated. Um,
Wait, it's not mandated.
so, like most stores. Oh, she wanted to be on camera. Hi. Um, yes, hi. Some stores will, have you wear a mask, but they're not going up to you and saying, "Where's your mask?" if you don't have it on. Most people wear it. And it depends on where you are in Georgia, but no one's walking outside and putting a mask on.
Really?
No. Like I walk
Wow.
my dogs without a mask. That would be really weird here if you're walking around wearing a mask.
Are you
Just
serious? It'd be
yeah.
really weird here if you're walking around without wearing it.
No, you would get mauled
Yeah.
there. People would freak out. Here, I've never. You don't walk down the street wearing a mask here. You just don't. That's just not.
And you're allowed to be in stores without. It's advised that you should wear one, but you can be there without one. Is what you're saying?
But it depends on the store. Some store, but they have to have a sign saying like we require masks. But I've been to the grocery stores where there was like women who decided not to wear a mask, but nobody was throwing them out. It's kind of like
Nothing
I don't
like
know.
that is happening in California. It's
I,
nothing. It's a different world here.
I know.
Like we're.
Well, hopefully this next, I asked the question on Twitter. I'm like, I don't mean it in a shitty way. I mean, like, what is going on there?
Yeah.
As to why it needs to go back into a stronger restriction. And I didn't realize I forgot about the celebrations of the Lakers winning and the Dodgers, and people are saying that contributed to it dramatically because a lot of the people that were celebrating out in the streets weren't wearing masks, and they feel, and I don't know how accurate any of this is. This is coming from people that I know that obviously live in LA, but it just is peculiar that the cases are exploding there constantly.
I mean,
is like,
yeah. I think that we've all been, like I mean, I gave everybody heat from the Lakers winning to the Trump rallies to people celebrating Biden to everybody is we're all at guilt, and I don't really we're all just like pointing fingers at other people, and we all just kind of, in my belief, need to say, hey, we're all responsible for this, and what's happening is because of everybody, so instead of pointing, we like to point fingers at individual groups. We just need to try to encourage each other and to try to be better, because just so many people at fault. But I also get that the restrictions vary location to location.
well, stay healthy, especially when you go back to St. Louis.
So before we get to the topic, let's talk about that for a second. So a lot of people aren't traveling for the holidays. A lot of people are not traveling.
He just came out saying you shouldn't travel. So then, I mean, are people just canceling their plan? I mean, the CDC literally just came out with that like 2 days ago. It's like, well, probably bought their flights already. I mean,
it was a little late. It was a
yeah.
little late. But like, there's some people that are like not knowing if they should travel or not. Now, clearly in Atlanta, the thinking is probably people can travel. If they're hardly even strict about masks, I'm sure people are like, go be with your families do whatever. What is your view on this real quick? Do you think that people should be with their families on Thanksgiving or no?
Um, I would never put myself um, in a position where I'm to judge someone and what they should do in their life.
Hmm.
And I've thought that about everything.
Hmm.
Who am I to tell you that you have to wear a mask? I
Yeah.
mean, whether or don't, I've always taken that view. Okay, hi. Wow. You
Well,
know,
I will say to you that I fully agree, and that's how I view things. But I also think that people should see what people are saying as far as restrictions, like what the
I think
CDC is
if you
saying.
feel comfortable traveling, then go travel with your family. You know what I mean? And I get that you have to look at a broader sense like, hey, we're all in this together. We all need to stop the spread, which means we all need to we all need to have compromises in our lives. And that may mean not going to see your family. However, I'm not entirely sure everyone has that view of humanity that we are looking out for one another. The US is not exactly a country that was founded on the premise of like empathy and caring for one another. you
Yeah.
know, that's just
Yeah.
not that's not exactly what this country is about, unfortunately. Um, so as much as that sounds lovely where you are doing it for the greater good, I'm not sure that's enforceable.
Yeah. So I agree with you 100%, and I think that everybody should know what's being said. I think that's the key, and then I think that people should make their own decisions. But what frustrates me about the whole thing is, for example, I let people know, hey, we need to be careful. These are the restrictions. These are what's happening. Vernon just said they slammed us down tighter than an oil drum on a shipping liner. Pretty funny. Um, so they, so they're locked down, Vernon. That's pretty funny. But then I had a friend, because I'm going to St. Louis for Thanksgiving. I had a friend come after me, and he's like, "Well, you're telling people about stuff about they should be careful with their family and they should stay home and everything." And I'm like, "Yes, I'm telling people that. Yes, I'm letting people know that they're saying that. Like, I'm relaying the information, you know. But just because I let people know, hey, this is what's being said, like that doesn't say anything about like what I'm doing. I'm just letting you know what's being said.
Right.
Like there's a difference between that. So people don't understand. If I was the mayor of a city or something and I was enforcing the law, that's different. But me sitting in my apartment letting people know that on social media has no bearing on like what I'm doing. I'm just letting them know that information for their own good. And then everybody, including me, can make their decision. But I'm telling you, like, if you let people know that information, people will come after you just because you let people know that information. As if like they assume that like that's what you're doing, that you're like terrified and do this and do that. Like, no, I'm letting people know the information and then I'm going to make my decision. But it's amazing how much people, you know, hold people responsible for things just because they're letting people know information, you know?
Right.
Do you know
Well,
what I'm
you're
saying
you're
there?
you're more of like an information share. You're like a spreader,
Yes.
not this is my opinion and this is what you should do.
If you want to know my opinion, I'll tell you. Every day of the week, I'll tell you which is what I just said. Um, yes, I'm letting people know because a lot of people don't get this information. They never even see it.
And I think well, no, that's because they either have tuned out,
Yeah,
all of it because it's just noise at this point.
yeah.
Um, what I'm seeing is that the fear-based thinking is coming back again, if it hadn't left, before. But there's this talk of like, okay, second wave's gonna be horrible. Get ready, and I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know about that.
I
You
don't
know.
know either. The best we can do is everybody can look at the information and then make decisions for themselves.
I mean, are we not all individuals with our own brains and our own lives? I mean, at that point, it's like,
How I view it.
I mean, I think people should travel if they feel comfortable um, but realize that there are consequences to the actions and decisions that you make in your life. And
Should,
that goes for anything.
should
You
people get tested before they travel?
My problem with testing,
There's a lot of holes in it. Like,
yeah, I guess I don't understand it. So like, let's say I'm staying in town
yeah,
because I just don't feel like, I don't know, I'm just staying in town. Um, let's say I was going out of town and I went to go get the test. Let's say I'm leaving tomorrow. I got the test 2 days ago. It came back, or 3 days ago, or whatever. It came back that I'm negative. I'm negative that day. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm negative the minute I get on the plane 3 or 4 days later.
yeah,
And I could catch it while I'm on the plane or in the airport.
right,
So you would have to test every day.
right. That's
Uh,
that's what I was
it
telling my
doesn't
mom
make any
today. Right.
sense to me. Like I hear people doing that as like, well, I can go to this party because I got tested like a couple days ago. I'm like, well, were you then staying in your closet the whole, like between when you got tested and when you got the results to when you went to the event? You know what I mean? Like, how do you know you don't have COVID in between the test and the event itself?
Like putting your finger over like a leaky faucet. Like the water's still gonna get out a
Yeah,
little bit here and
it's
there.
really bizarre. And so I think the testing is ridiculous, to be honest. Like, well, I'm going to test before I get on a plane. It's like, what if you catch it on the plane? I don't know. I think it's each to their own with it. I've never actually had the test. I haven't really needed to get it.
I've had it like 12 times.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't, I don't want I'll get it if I have to, but at this point, I
I
don't.
mean, I've gotten it for work. Really.
Right.
Um, but yeah, okay, yeah, that's interesting. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's move into our topic today. So we wanted to talk. Oh, and we want to talk about AI, but it's before we jump into that. It sounds like everybody pretty much. There's people commenting. I know Kira doesn't see these because we have it on one end right now. But Vernon's basically he thinks people should be with their families. Or Lee Miller thinks people should be with their families. Vernon agrees. Some people are saying they don't think the tests work. Um, some people think if your test is negative, then you don't need to be tested again. I don't know about that. A range of opinions on that topic. So just reading. But what's up, Lee, Vernon, Johan, whoever else is here? Anyway, moving into the topic, I think that um, we wanted to talk about AI today, and we've touched on it, several months or more ago. We've kind of touched on this topic before, but it's the topic of how much AI is playing into influencing us, and now that we've got this crazy year with election and COVID, how AI still could be influencing us, and what kind of an impact that's having, and what are your thoughts on it? How much of an impact it's having?
So I just got a cat tail in my face.
Yeah, this is Kira's cat. If you're watching the video version of this, some people will be listening. Her cat is alive and well.
Today. She's usually not. So let's see. This is Storm. Storm, say hi to everyone.
This is Storm.
She's so
Storm is Kira's what would you call it? Your technical advisor there. Helping Kira out.
Yes. Amongst my other zoo, I've got my other cat and my two dogs. So it's a little madhouse-ish.
A whole family of pets. She's got them all there. She's got everywhere. Tell them hello for me.
I will. I know you miss them terribly.
Yes.
So, AI is actually interesting, and there's a lot of coming out in terms of do we give equal rights to AI, and robots whenever they come out. Yesterday it came out, or I think it was today, that Facebook's AI is now catching 95% of any of the trolling or the hate speech going on. And it's like, well, why wasn't that included before? Like, why are you now just tuning the algorithm or the AI to find the hate speech? Why wasn't it doing?
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of emphasis and people worry, especially the EU. Oh, the EU is like super, super scared of AI and putting all of these parameters around it. But I think it's doing a disservice by looking only at the negative of AI, and I think it's warranted to look at the positive pieces that AI can do,
Yeah.
and the promising developments that are coming out to actually improve our lives and not just to search and destroy.
Well,
Um,
Vernon says that AI is the most dangerous virus ever created. So some people are not for it. I I agree in that I think that there are positives and negatives to it, for sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would argue that fear is actually the single most deadliest virus there is in the human race.
yeah,
But
fear. I would agree. Well, I remember a tweet from Elon Musk that said fear is the real mind killer. Something,
oh, sure.
I thought was really, it reminds me of that. But yeah, yes, I think that fear is a big part of it. But I was watching. Okay, so we have all these algorithms now. We have like Twitter algorithm. There's Google,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about Google, and when you type in something for a search, it obviously records that, like records it digitally, like there's what's being searched for, and so the more you search, the more Google kind of brings up what's present, like what is the most searched for, like what's getting the most clicks.
Right.
So if Google's surface, so some people are like, AI is now running the show, that like AI is controlling humans in these algorithms. But I don't know if that's true, because I feel like everything that Google's surfacing, for example, is everything that Google is surfacing is stuff that we put in there. So it's responding to our searches. So everything it's showing is human led still. But some people think that that's AI led, and that there's this big bad, big bad group and everything. But I don't really see that, because at least unless they're doing something behind the scenes bad, which is quite possible, I see it as they've put the algorithm there, and they're like, okay, you guys run. So some people are like, why does this presidential candidate get so much exposure? Why does Trump get so much exposure? Why does Biden get so much exposure? Well, whatever's showing up on Google is what the most people are clicking. So if more CNN articles are showing up than, I don't know, what's one of those crazy, Breitbart or something, it's not because Google is stifling um, Breitbart. It's because CNN has a lot bigger audience than Breitbart.
Right.
Does that? But a lot of people don't. So it's just what we're clicking on. Google and their AI is not trying to push one publication out. They still get their free reign. It's just a matter of how many people are going to that publication. And by the way, like Fox News gets a ton of viewing, but I mean, Fox News is still. I mean, they're the biggest. Their numbers, I mean, it's out of control how big they are. But I see a lot of people complaining about the smaller conservative publications. It's not that Google, in my opinion, it's not that Google's trying to stifle you. It's that there's a smaller crowd looking at those. You don't hear about any left-wing publications. I mean, you see them, but like the Huffington Post, which was just bought out by, I think, Buzzfeed today or something, they're not getting what CNN's getting. Like the Huffington Post compared to CNN, they're just not. So you can't expect the post-millennial to get what Fox News is getting. And so it feels like paranoia to me, people saying that Google's involved there. No, they're just letting the algorithm go based on the humans. That's my belief on it. Now, a lot of people, especially people who are more conservative, disagree with me on that, but I don't see it in the Google algorithm right now. I know that think there's bad stuff happening. That's very possible. But at least in that regard, I don't see it as far as AI.
Well, and the other thing is, when you do a search term, it's learning your behavior. So then it'll learn next time, it'll give you a suggested rest of the search term, like, oh, it knows what you want now. Like for instance, I'll type in barbecue chicken recipes. And then maybe 20, I'll find my recipe and then I'll make, and then I'll do another search and I'll put in barbecue chicken recipe, and then it'll fill in time to cook, cook time,
right,
for me, because it'll know that I'll probably, that's what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? It's a suggested. That's where AI and the learning machine comes into play, where it's learning your behaviors and what you're searching for.
But that's again coming based off you.
Correct, and it's what it's trying to do is make it easier to find things in a faster way.
Yeah.
Instead of having to type in the whole thing, it's learning what you probably want, and it's usually quite accurate. Yeah. And then it'll direct you. The faster you're able to get the information, the more you're glued into using the search. You know what I mean? That's the whole purpose, really.
Lee Miller says AI will become so intelligent it will become self-reliant.
I don't know. It's interesting. I was reading an article about Elon Musk and how he has a division, Neuralink, and it's implanting a flexible hair-thin thread that connects the human brain to AI systems that can operate phones and computers.
Yep.
At that point, who's running what? Is it the AI that's been implanted into your brain that's self-reliant, or are you still in control? That's tricky. It's those types of things that are a little worrisome, because there's no regulation over any of that, and it's like, are we really at the point where we're implanting things into people's brains? Is that something that's like a good idea? I don't know.
Well, it never made sense to me growing up. I was always like, like tests and stuff, trying to understand how, when I needed the information, I'm like, why do I need to learn this? Get it online.
Right.
Why is, I can go to Google, or I can go to, that wasn't around, but you could go to like AOL and look it up. So what that's doing is, instead of me going to my computer and needing something, or my iPhone, we'll be able to have it on our brain to go to. Because this is already, we're already it's here, but it's just not attached yet.
I'll give it, I think that's for sure coming.
That's Neuralink. Neuralink's gonna be the phone is going into your neck.
Right.
So what do you think about that? You're worrisome about that?
I don't think it's the best idea in the whole wide world. I think there's I think not having regulations over things can always lead to some interesting territory where people explore all kinds of things that they can create. But should it be created is my question. The other piece of this that's really interesting, and I think we forget as a first world country, that almost half the world's population does not have the internet yet.
Yeah.
Let's think about that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, almost half doesn't have access to the internet. So I think we need to probably solve that first, because inherently you will have bias then.
Mm-hmm.
If you cannot have an equal serving of people that are able to use, the AI services, or the anything that's created, you're inherently creating a bias then. I think we need to first probably solve an infrastructure problem that we have as it pertains to access to the internet, just globally.
Yeah.
And not having full on countries that don't, and people that lack all any digital skill, I think is a problematic way before we start thinking about implanting, you know, things into people's heads.
Because then
I
we're
think
gonna have these half AI, half humans walking around. Some people who don't even have access to computer
correct.
electricity, much less.
Well, right. So then it's like, all right, are we getting ahead of ourselves and maybe not thinking from a humanity global perspective? And that was what, when Google was doing the balloon things, they were trying to get the internet out to remote areas
Mm,
years ago. And it worked. It's just, I think there needs to be a little bit more emphasis on like a global initiative to get, if that's what we're, wanting the internet access to everyone so that it's an equal, and it's not serving one part of humanity and not the other.
I think
And
that's
and that's where it comes, it kind of comes down to the whole title of the show today is, if you're trying to use AI to better society, then you need to actually provide the resources to everyone at that point, you
yeah,
know, so that
yeah.
equally distributed and recognized in all cultures.
And how do you think we get to that? How do you think that?
I mean, I think that needs to be an infrastructure issue in terms of how to get access to these, you know, um, subcultures and that don't have the internet.
Hmm.
You know, I think we don't even think about that because we use the internet so much and we're TikToking and like whatever else, but like there's just basic things that we still need to accomplish before we start putting robots on like the earth. You know,
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that's true. I don't really see. Somebody says here, once AI is Lee Miller says once AI is connected to your human brain, you lose self control. Vernon said there's no self if AI is connected to your brain. But I don't know. You probably agree with that. I don't get that. Like it's just putting the phone is just at that point like on your brain. You still have control. Is the phone running you now? Is the phone in control now?
well now it's. I think the concern is you're taking, so in the case of Elon Musk's,
Right?
subdivision company that he's creating, um, it's a thread-like device that is implanted in the brain. Now that's never been done before. We don't implant things into our brain except our own thoughts
Right.
and our experiences, right?
Right.
Here is a foreign object
Right.
that is being placed inside our brain and we think we will still have control over it.
Well, look, I'm skeptical about the whole putting an object in the brain thing. Okay, I think that's
Like I think Elon Musk needs to probably put his resources toward making sure that globally everyone has access to the internet maybe first before we start implanting things into people's brains.
Vernon
That's my
says.
opinion, but
Yeah, Vernon says this is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? um,
I always love that commercial. The
and
egg, you remember that? The cracking the egg, this is your brain.
they
This
do.
is
Len loves Jesus. Does not like Elon Musk. Yeah, I remember that commercial. With the egg. This is your brain on drugs. Yeah, it's funny, Vernon. Yeah, though, I think that I don't know. I think there's a lot of work to be done, but I do think that I don't understand how are they connecting the thoughts to the phone? How does that work?
I mean, I don't, the other thing you have to worry about is now it's inside your body. And this goes with anything, a chip or any device, you know. It's inside your body. Can it be hacked? Could your brain be hacked at that point? I mean, if simple apps on a phone and your phone can be hacked, is it possible that hackers can get that smart where they have then control over you
Yeah.
from inside out, you know?
Do you think your brain cannot get hacked now? Here's one of those. This is one of those questions, everybody, where Kira's her brain goes out of her
I don't,
skull.
not as much as if there was a thread-like device in my brain.
Do you think these algorithms aren't hacking our brains already by what we see and what we?
I think we can be hyper vigilant, hyper aware of what we're reading. That takes self-awareness. Whereas if there's something implanted in my brain, I literally have no control whether or not that thing's going to be hacked or not. Whereas I could watch and decide what I want to watch and read and make my own distinctions. Whether or not the algorithm is trying to change my mind, it's being mindful of what it's doing,
Yeah,
being
I think
hyper aware of it.
I think so. I agree with that. Chip would be a kind of a step up from that, but I think
Like, it's a weird thing. Like, I have my birth control is an injection. I can feel it in my arm.
oh
And that's a weird thing.
yeah
Like, it stays in for years. So they inject this, like, whatever, and it's always been a really creepy thing where I'm like, who knows what the hell, like, obviously it's birth control and like whatever, but it's an implant. It's birth implant, birth control implant in your arm. And it always creeped out my ex because it was like, who knows what is on that thing? And I'm like, okay, well, you can go down that rabbit hole of conspiracy. I don't want to go down there,
right.
but there are people that are like, I mean, I have an implant in my arm, and who knows what the fuck is actually, other than like making sure I don't get pregnant. But other than that, who knows what else is in it?
Yeah, and Vernon says that's very well put, Kira, about everything. So he's letting you know the way you described it was well done.
Thanks,
Um,
Brennan.
yeah, so I agree with that. I just think that we also just need to be aware of how easily we're all influenced now, um, by everything. By algorithms, by the news, by what news we watch. So AI has, you know, some control in that regard already. Um, but the the issue is, and this is the big topic, is how much is the AI and the algorithm controlling versus how much is it just giving us what we want to see.
Well, and that was always the purpose, of AI, it wasn't to do harm. And I think we always kind of go that direction very easily now. I
Yeah,
think the paranoia kind of sits in, and we're like, oh, you're trying to do X, Y, and Z. And the ultimate goal of AI is not to do harm, unless you're a company that is literally trying to hack into whatever. But generally speaking, it's to um, provide you the most customized view of the internet, because the internet's so enormous and there's so much stuff you can do and so much you can look at. The AI and algorithm and that type of thing helps design it around what you like and what you don't like, and excludes advertising that wouldn't make sense for you, et cetera, et cetera. Um, are there opportunities for these AIs to then be changed into changing the way we view the world, and certain politicians, et cetera, et cetera? Absolutely. I mean, that's common knowledge now.
I
And
think
I
there
think that,
already are. Yeah,
oh yeah, for sure. The problem is now we don't trust it. We're like, wait a second, AI was super cool before, and now it's like, oh, well, I don't trust anything that comes out now. I don't trust the news online. I don't trust Twitter. I'm concerned that it's caused such a backlash of people being so paranoid of what it could do, is that they're not what they're getting rid of their Facebook pages, and they want to eject themselves away from this because they didn't realize that all of their data wasn't isn't their data. It's the company's data now. They
Right.
own you, you know? And that's something that's fair. I can't judge someone for being a little bit fearful of where things are heading and what they're doing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I think that it's very depends on the company though. Like a second ago I was talking about Google's algorithm and how it gives back what we put in it. So I'm not seeing that I'm not seeing it as much with Google and with Twitter and with Facebook because I really do believe this, that they're giving the user what what they want to see. So whatever you're clicking on, it's giving you back. Like whatever you're engaging with, you're seeing more of. Like that's my belief. So it's human run. A lot of people disagree with that because there's a lot of people that think there's like the, you know, bad forces behind them trying to influence. I don't think it happens nearly as much with the social media as it does with the news organization. Because I think the news have their what they like more than and they try to influence based off that.
Well,
Everybody knows that now.
to be honest, the news about BuzzFeed buying HuffPo
Yeah.
was not something I was real thrilled about today.
Really?
I mean, HuffPo was I'm concerned about the conglomerate, type of stuff that's going on, the consolidation of of
News.
news,
Hmm?
like BuzzFeed. But BuzzFeed is they make hilarious memes, and like I'm not entirely sure I would put them in the same category as a HuffPo, whether or
There.
not you read Huffington Post or not. But the premise of a entertainment type of company to buy a news outlet is a little disturbing. And that's where I get concerned about AI in terms of the algorithm of what will be fed then, you know? And
How so?
um, because, will BuzzFeed keep on Huffington Post writers and this, they're gonna combine it and make it into whatever BuzzFeed's, realm is. It's a little concerning of, how does the algorithm work for BuzzFeed? Will they put
Which
that
algorithm?
BuzzFeed,
You mean just their?
like their systems and operations
Yeah.
will take over Huffington Post's operations?
Yes.
So their algorithm is going to be different
Sure.
than Huffington Post, right?
It's going to be
So
all what BuzzFeed was. Yeah.
correct. Is that good or bad?
I mean,
You
I
know,
think that you know.
will the reporting change based upon what BuzzFeed leans toward?
Yes. 100%.
That's concerning.
Well, maybe the two news companies kind of get along, and they said, let's hash
I
into
don't like
fun.
I don't want a voice. I don't know. I have a problem when and I get, people are going to come out and be like, well, CNN's owned by so and so, and I get that, all of that. It's just it's hard to find a company these days that isn't bought by someone. Then, first AOL bought Huffington Post,
Mm-hmm.
and for like 335 million or whatever. And then now it's being bought again, and it's like, how many hands have been in the pot now?
Yeah.
And that's just one example. You could say that about lots of these companies. So when it comes to AI, what happens when Elon Musk sells his brain thread thing to another company? TikTok, that's China, was created in China, and then who knows what's going on with, who's owning it right now or operating it. That's going to switch hands.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of like regulations of some sort? Is
It's
there a new privacy policy we all have to read again based upon like, oh wait, you're now collecting different data points. BuzzFeed collects different data points than Huffington Post. Now you're combining the two.
Sure.
So what, I gotta have to agree to certain things now. You know what I mean? There's a reason why we get emails. I get it constantly of like companies updating their privacy policies. They have to send it out by law. Who reads them? No
Yeah.
one. We all agree to it, but we don't truly know what's going on in there, you know?
I think that when a company buys, when a news organization buys another one out like they did, I think it's going to become, they're just going to become part of whatever BuzzFeed was now. I mean, I think what Huffington had before, they'll have influence and stuff, but it's ultimately going to be what BuzzFeed was. And BuzzFeed's, I mean, I tweet their stuff and such here and there. I think their social media, their name is really funny. They're making a voice for themselves as news, but we just have to remember that each news has a point of view in and of themselves,
Right.
and then Twitter's the kind of the mass producer of all of the different news from the different organizations. So we just have to remember to, and a couple people in the chat are bringing something up really important, which is Lee Miller says, keep everything human and don't change yourself, And Vernon says, yeah, it goes both ways, Jeff. I believe it is really dangerous no matter how you look at it. We need to be much less dependent on outside forces to run who we are. And I think
that's, I mean, years ago before the internet was created, I mean, I'm sure when this was being developed and there was rumors of like, well, what if we could have some kind of online or whatever, there was fear, around all of that, fear around social media. Maybe it's something that we need to embrace because that is the future, whether we like it or not.
I look at all the organization, like what everybody's saying on all these, and I just read and see what they're all saying. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't know, like, but everybody's like concerned. Everybody wants to have, everybody needs like everybody's looking for certainty.
Right.
Everybody wants to have the answer.
Yeah.
They want to know that person is crazy and I'm not crazy. So I'm picking this person. I'm going with this news organization because they're not crazy. Right. But the other people with the other group think that those people are crazy. So I don't know who's crazy. So I just think you're all crazy. It's like I can't figure out. It doesn't even make any sense to me. That's like my view on it, because I can't figure it out, because everybody's saying different things, and it's like BuzzFeed is saying something different from, I don't know, what's another news organization from there's 100 of them, there's all these small, big, and everybody has a different point of view on everything. Right. So I think you've got to kind of, not you, but I think everybody, we have to try to get more comfortable with kind of not knowing about something, not knowing the answer to something, because maybe I learned this in acting or something. I don't know. We're all we're flawed, there's a lot of flaws.
Well, I think the prominence of online, to your point earlier, where we can find an answer to anything in a split second, it drives us now insane when we don't have the answer.
And it drives people insane.
Because we're so used to being able to tell Google, like, I need the answer to this right now, and it just spits it out. Here's your fact. But when there's certain things that we can't know for certain, that drives us bonkers, because we're so used to getting facts that when there's something that is challenging our own reality, that causes us to be like fearful of what the uncertainty, when that's actually really a disguise in itself, because everything is uncertain. Google and all of this social media just make it seem like it's all true and fact-based, and it's not. It's all facade anyways.
But the other problem with that, which back to like us kind of leading the wag the dog. It's like us leading the AI. Is the most like, and it all goes back to what you said earlier, which is fear. Okay, so the most clickable articles are the most, stimulating dopamine rushers, like fear based articles. Those are getting the most clicks because people are drawn to that. They want to see the crazy whatever's happening with Trump or with that's clickable. And because of that, the most fear-based articles get the most clicks, and therefore the algorithm and the AI is like, "Oh, this is what the human wants. We'll give you more of this." So then the AI is like, "Okay, here's more of that. Here's more of that. Here's more of that." And we're then like clicking on it more, like there's more of that. There's more of that. It's like this cycle. And so AI is giving it back to us like, "Okay, here's more. Here's more." And then we're like, "More." And it's like, "Here's more. More, 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 more." And so the fear stuff starts to become the reality because we're manifesting it through the AI. The AI is like a mechanism. And because we're so drawn to fear and that, it's just teaching us that it's mirroring us. It's holding the mirror. Twitter and social media is holding the mirror up to us. That's what AI is doing.
Right. It's just a vehicle.
And then
it'll just deliver whatever we put into it.
That's what I believe.
Right. So if you put into a system, just like our brain is a computer, we tell it what programs we want it to run. So if we say, "I'm so scared of COVID, I'm not going outside and I'm not going to travel because I think I'm going to, what if I get COVID and die?" You're telling that's a program that your brain will just tack on, and it's not going to say, "No, don't think that." It'll just run with that program of fear-based reality.
Because you manifest. Yes.
Same with all of these social media. If you put in it, whatever you put into it, you get out of it.
That's
right.
I
think to your point, it is an absolute reflection of your own view of reality, and it'll give back to you exactly. So if you're already an anxious person about the world and you're constantly putting into social media about fear, blah, or whatever it is, you're going to get that it's bouncing back to you, and then you'll really see how scary the world is because it'll constantly be pushing that back to you.
That's right.
That's where you have to be in control and mindful of the things that you are consuming because you are changing your reality.
Yeah.
I mean, and that it warps people. I know people close to me that I just watched disintegrate into this fear-based type of thing because that's what they kept reading and absorbing into their brain. And they literally changed their own reality, and it was like self-prophesizing, or manifesting it. Your thoughts are so much more powerful than we give our credit to. That's what creates our reality.
That's right.
It's a scary thing when you're not hyper aware of the things that you're absorbing, and that's why and most people aren't. I think that's like a good rule of thumb that we all need to be way more mindful and way more conscious of what the people we're around, the people, the things that we read online, the amount of time that we're online, the movies we watch. I mean, you have to be very mindful of every interaction that you have with the world because it's changing your reality, and whether or not that's what you want or not, that's how it is,
I agree. No, I think so, and I think that. I mean, that's what I believe. It's holding a mirror up, and people get caught in silos of what they're reading, and that's why I also tend to post a wide range of things because I'm trying to help show people that there's other things happening. That there's a wide range of things happening. you know. And I also believe that the AI itself is did you ever see this is kind of funny. Did you ever see Ghostbusters 2?
I adore Ghostbusters, so I could probably recite that every movie.
So the slime in Ghostbusters 2 was
Slimer.
basically AI. Like the slime was AI. Because you remember the slime reacted to whatever, remember the emotion, like when he got mad, it would go like boop, boop. Like you would see it, and then like Dan Aykroyd was like, what? And then it would go like, when they would get mad, it was like boop, 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 boop.
Right. In the toaster, when they like line the toaster and the toaster starts dancing to the music.
That was AI. The slime in Ghostbusters 2. So Vernon, if you've seen Ghostbusters, and Lee Miller, go watch Ghostbusters 2. The slime in the Statue of Liberty was AI because it all fed off of what? It fed off of human fear and
Yeah.
emotion, and it illustrated that.
Jeff,
And
that's really quite brilliant. That's really well done.
oh yeah,
Like, because that is actually really a fascinating, uh, very intricate view of that movie and how you can compare it to AI. I love it, actually. Well done, sir.
yeah. Thank you. And I tweeted it a few weeks ago. I don't think anybody noticed. I should retweet it. But the slime was AI. It
Right.
totally was. And it
Off of the emotions and the thoughts that we have. And I think that's where it's like, do you blame the AI or the creators of AI? No, because you're in control of that, or you would hope so, of control of how you're using it, you know? Um,
yeah, 100%. So we need to be. I think we could help ourselves by just being tuned to that. I know we need to wind down soon here, but I think that that's key is staying aware of how much it is really it wouldn't be a catalyst as much as it's AI is kind of a mechanism
right.
for our emotional system. What would you call that? Um, I've heard people say the word before. It starts with an L, but our emotional system, literally AI is just a like a mechanism that's reflecting that back.
Right.
And I think when we realize that, we'll be able to um, use it to our advantage for more positive things, as you say, instead of all this fear and negative. Um,
Absolutely. I think it's again, I think constantly I'm pushing that people are much more mindful of their thoughts, because that's what generates your entire reality, whether AI, whatever you type into Google. It's to your point, it's an absolute reflection back of how you're using that machine. It just is it's a total mirror of the things that are in your brain, and if that worries you of what you're reading, then that's what is actually the thoughts in your head. And it's up to you to change that program, not AI. It's not their fault. It's your brain that's putting it out there. So, yes, I love it. I think it's very well spoken, Jeff.
there was a
Look at
river.
you all on point today.
Thanks. No, I mean there was a river of slime, like
Yes.
like a
And
like a
they fall
timeline.
in. Yes, they fall in, and then they get up on the street and they start fighting each other because it's
Yeah,
all energy, like, gets you upset. And look at our world
it
right
was
now.
previewing it. You see, and the ghosts were fear.
Yes. I love it. It's almost, I wonder, Jeff, if you could, how people use the Simpsons as like, oh, they're constantly, able to prophesize from like the 90s, and you're like, Trump is president and all of this stuff that's like, people love using the Simpsons as like a good example. I wonder if you could use Ghostbusters as a looking, you know, forward or in the present day, even though it was created back in, the
Yeah,
90s, 80s,
19
right? Yeah,
it was a preview of it.
it's very interesting. I like that.
Thanks. I just kind of thinking about that. Okay, maybe
It is a really great metaphor.
Well, we've gone on for an hour today, so this has been great.
Well, have an amazing Thanksgiving. Don't catch the Rona. Wear a mask and all of that funness, and wash your hands.
You too. You'll be in Atlanta?
Yes, I'll be in Atlanta. I don't know. I have to say, I think I'm gonna go on a hike and then go out for drinks later in the evening. So
Nice.
Because things are open, and just kind of go out and have fun and not get the Rona. Nobody has time to get the Rona. Nobody's got time.
And we'll be back 2 weeks from today. Let's do 2:00 again if that works for you. And we'll keep them. I think this is our time slot now. So we'll go with that. 2 weeks from today, 2 p.m. We'll have another exciting topic.
Awesome.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Have a very safe and happy holiday to everyone, and to you and to your family and friends. And we will see you guys in a couple weeks.
Vernon, Lee, see you guys soon. Thank you, Vernon, for, yes, he liked my slime metaphor. Thank you so much. Stay safe, you guys. Vernon, Lee, everybody else who's in here, Johan. And here at Jeff and Kira Live, where the future and the future is Jeff and Kira Live. Kira, see you in 2 weeks.
Bye, guys.
Out.